In this episode, we will be discussing collecting a pet deposit. If you allow tenants to have pets in order to broaden your applicant pool, you need to keep in mind the need to protect yourself from the possibility of additional damage that could be caused by the pets. Some states allow for a specific pet deposit that is separate from and in addition to the security deposit. If this is the case in your state, it is wise to take advantage of the chance to require additional funds to cover potential pet damage. Other states require any pet deposit to be calculated with the security deposit to reach a total deposit that cannot exceed the state's limit. In this case, it's not advisable to label and restrict a portion of the deposit to pet damage only. If your state falls into this category and does not allow an additional pet deposit beyond the security deposit, you can consider the option of charging more per month for rent. As long as the increase in rent is consistent for all applicants with pets, this is a perfectly acceptable practice. There is one word of caution that should be mentioned. While pet owners in general are not considered a protected group when it comes to anti-discrimination laws, it is against the law to charge an extra deposit for a pet when the pet is a trained service animal. But this shouldn't worry you. Remember, these animals are highly trained and are not typically left home alone. We will now go through each state and provide a summary of their pet deposit laws. In the state of Alabama, additional deposits that are beyond the security deposit limit are allowed for pets. In Alaska, there is no state statute. In Arizona, non-refundable fees are allowed. The purpose, though, of any non-refundable fee must be stated in writing to the tenant. All fees are refundable unless specifically designated as non-refundable. In the state of Arkansas, there is no state statute. In California, non-refundable fees are not allowed. In Colorado, there is no state statute. In Connecticut, there is no state statute. In the state of Delaware, additional pet deposit of up to 1 month's rent is allowed. In the District of Columbia, there is no statute. In the state of Florida, non-refundable fees are not specifically addressed in the statutes, but are customary. In the state of Georgia, non-refundable fees are also not specifically addressed in the statutes, but are also customary. In Hawaii, non-refundable fees are not allowed. Only the first month's rent and security deposit can be collected at the start of a tenancy. In Idaho, there is no state statute. In Illinois, there is no state statute. In Indiana, there is no state statute. In Iowa, there is also no state statute. In Kansas, additional pet deposit of up to a half month's rent is allowed. In Kentucky, there is no state statute. In Louisiana, there is no state statute. In Maine, there is no state statute. In Maryland, there is no state statute. In Massachusetts, there is no state statute. In Michigan, there is no state statute. In Minnesota, there is no state statute. In Mississippi, there is no state statute. And in Missouri, there is no state statute. In the state of Montana, non-refundable fees are not allowed. In Nebraska, additional pet deposit of up to 1/4 of the month's rent may be collected. In Nevada, non-refundable fees are allowed. The purpose, though, of any non-refundable fee must be indicated in the lease agreement. In the state of New Hampshire, there is no state statute. In New Jersey, there is no state statute. In New Mexico, there is no state statute. And in New York, there is no state statute. In North Carolina, reasonable non-refundable pet deposits are allowed. In North Dakota, if there is a pet, the security deposit may be increased to a total of $2,500 or 2 months' rent, whichever is greater. In Ohio, there is no state statute. In Oklahoma, there is no state statute. In Oregon, Non-refundable fees are allowed for reasonably anticipated landlord expenses, including those caused by a tenant not in compliance if indicated in the lease agreement, as long as the fees are not excessive. In Pennsylvania, there is no state statute. In Rhode Island, there is no state statute. In South Carolina, there is no state statute. In the state of South Dakota, a security deposit exceeding the limit is allowed if special conditions pose a danger to the maintenance of the property and all parties agree. In Tennessee, there is no state statute, and in Texas, there is no state statute. In the state of Utah, non-refundable fees are allowed. It is customary, though not specifically addressed in the statutes, that the landlord must disclose in writing if any part of the security deposit is non-refundable when a written lease agreement is used. In Vermont, there is no state statute. In Virginia, there is no state statute. In the state of Washington, non-refundable fees are allowed. Any non-refundable fees, though, must be clearly indicated in the lease agreement as non-refundable. In West Virginia, there is no state statute. In Wisconsin, there is no state statute. In Wyoming, non-refundable fees are allowed, but the landlord must disclose in writing before accepting the deposit if any part of the security deposit is non-refundable, and this must also be stated in the lease agreement.